Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to turn 72 of Pokemon Gold, where we are playing Cyanwood City. Let's jump into the turn. Alright, so we've got quite a bit of things going on. Go ahead and jump through everything real quick. We found a Gloom Gate with a Dark Knowledge. So let's actually take a look at this. So Gloom Gate is interesting. It's nice because it is 2 Death Gems, so that's just nice right off the bat. But it's also interesting because of the Death Ritual range increased by 2 provinces. I'm not sure if this is going to be super useful for us, but it's something that we can keep in mind. We'll see how it goes. Auspex got us nothing. Absolute got us nothing. We got hit with some bolts of flame in Muspel. Didn't really lead to anything super important. We cast Queen of Elemental Air, and Ayla actually answered the call, so that's really cool for us. We had a huge golem appear out of nowhere and attack us, so this is a remote assassination. That failed. And then Ishkur, the Steelix champion, was mentally attacked by an enemy mage and killed. Alright, so what this means is that Pewter City is employing a mind burner, and it's a mind burner with relatively good penetration. Either, I would say, a combination of high astral and probably stacked with penetration items. In order to best the base MR of a Steelix. I think Ishkur was around 22 or 23, somewhere around there. So that's pretty high. I'm not super worried about this. This does bring some concerns to us. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to make sure that we are kitting out our squad commanders, our leaders, with magic resistance gear. And it means that we need to make sure our Steelixes are actually utilizing things like amulets of anti-magic and bottles of holy water, right? Because keep in mind our bless is +4 MR, so that's pretty good for them. So this is just something, not something that I think is going to be a huge pain in the ass. This is something that we are going to have to worry about, something we need to watch out for. We're also going to probably take some precautions, extra precautions with our armies and bring some astral mages. Just bring them in, just to help disperse the options there. So anyways, moving on, nothing with Arcane Probing, nothing with Gnome Lore, nothing with Augury, nothing with Haruspex. We captured 2 more Blood Slaves in Dathan. We attacked in Kishia with a little raiding party, 1 there. Attacked in Boar Woods with a little raiding party, 1 there. And here's the big one. Yay! Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this. I mean, clearly we won. And clearly we were gonna win because it's literally just rock, paper, flamethrower, the fort defense, and a couple of fortresses here. So Heat from Hell comes down, Natural Rain comes down, kind of counteracting the two a little bit. Not quite, but this is going to be pretty much like there's not really much that happened here. Let's watch this from the beginning. Let's focus on what he does. What does Rock, Paper, Flamethrower? He does Earth Power, which brings him up to Earth 7. Ooh, he a monstrial. Okay. Got 26 protection. He's going to do Strength of Gaia, which is cool because Strength of Gaia gives him more regeneration, but also more nature magic. Temper Flesh, that's pretty good. Pretty good. So he's regenning 60 HP. If he had more protection, right? If he had 37 protection instead of 27 protection, or if he was, I think the big one being obviously against the Shiny Machamps, if he was ethereal, this would definitely turn into a situation But as soon as he gets surrounded, it just turns into a cluster because they have so many attacks. Their attacks hit so hard. There's just nothing he can do. And then that's it. That is the end of. Oh my god, that is the end of Olivine City. Oh shit. Okay, this has been in the making for like a good 15-20 turns now. The actual death of Olivine City. Ever since we started winning some major engagements and killing off more and more of his Steelixes, it has been the slow and steady decline of Olivine. I think honestly, the real ending trigger was when we pushed him out of our lands 40 turns ago, 30 turns ago, 35 turns ago, whatever it was, right? When we did that pushback and got Olivine out of our lands, Olivine ran into the scenario that all heavy blessed nations run into. As soon as they hit a wall with their expansion, their scales tend to be so bad and their focus on research tends to be so poor because they're having to spend what little money they have on the sacred bless scenario that they're utilizing, right? As soon as they hit a brick wall, their momentum just it stops. It's just dead stop, right? Because there's nothing that you can do at that point. What are you gonna do, right? So as soon as we started to push him back out of our territory, he lost that income. He lost that momentum, right? He had rolled over Saffron. He rolled over Violet, and as long as he had continued to roll, then it wouldn't have mattered. He would have just kept going and going and going. But since we were able to kind of like rebuff him, that stalled out his momentum, and then it's he can't make more Steelixes. He doesn't have research to really catch up with us on anything. His infrastructure is not gonna keep up with ours, etc., etc. And then we just outscaled him and came back and inflicted a couple of losses here or there, and then slowly but surely pushed in. And we had aid here or there. Don't get me wrong, right? Atlantis dealing with some of the efforts there at the end was pretty good for us. But this has been like 45 turns in the making. This has been definitely the longest war I have ever been in a Dominions game. This was crazily the longest war, and the game should by rights be over at this point. Realistically, Pewter probably should have already won, but it's just pure happenstance and luck that Pewter hasn't, and that we have now bested Olivine, and we're maybe in a position to make something happen. We'll see. Still great game to Maris, the player for Olivine. Really fun. I think I've said it before in this series, but I have learned more in this series because of the random weird oddities about the Pokemon mod and some of the crazy imbalances have made me have to look at things and relearn things about Dominions that I thought I knew, right? How I used to think about magic weapons versus armor or a bunch of different things. But it's been really fun. It's been really, really fun. So, or learning about MR, like the actual intricacies of MR. It's a really fucking big deal. So, very fun, very interesting. Goodbye, Olivine City. We've got another plus 10 income in Debrithia. We're getting a bunch of these plus X amount of income events, and these are really, really good. Now, we are kind of getting them. We've got them all in like the last 10, 15 turns. So, I mean, it would have been nice to get them 60 turns ago. That would be paying out at this point. But I'm definitely not going to. I'm not going to bite my thumb at them. We had Satalia rise up against us. Province lost. Okay, no big deal. We got some water gems, very cool. We got a little pile of gold and some more gems, and then a stone sphere, which is interesting. It's not crazy, but it's interesting. It's more useful in a game unlike this one because we have, well, I guess that's not true. It's a scouting item, and I've got access to pretty good scouts already, so I might throw it on someone if I feel like I need access to a certain information. Another Battle Goal Ruby found out. We have finished Olivine City's fort. Did some cure some afflictions and diseases, did some patrolling, promoted some units, and Rock, Paper, Flamethrower, God of Olivine City, has been permanently vanquished. Alright. That is the end. What are we doing? We're doing a lot of movement. A fair chunk of movement, actually. So let's take this in the fronts. So, Olivine City front, what is going on here? Mostly we are focusing in Olivine City. We're patrolling down because currently our unrest is so high in Olivine City that we can't actually recruit anything. We have put this laboratory and temple here, but we can't make use of it. We're researching at the lab with people, and then we're preaching with some of our individuals, and then we're patrolling everything else down. We are sending one nurse out to meet up with Lobomator. We're gonna hope that we get lucky and Lobomator gets her disease healed. There is one other guy who has a disease as well. We don't care as much. What we'll probably do is whoever will move here, and then we'll move here, and that's gonna be a heal and a two heal ticks, right? Which means we should be able to turn Lobomator right around and go back into Pewter City's lands. Over here in Dragonscale Mountains, we're doing a number of different things. We're doing some preaching. We're claiming the Throne of the Moon, so this is going to get us growth, precision, and some gems. Really isn't a big deal. We don't really care about the precision too terribly much, although it is nice. The gems, of course, are always nice. The growth isn't going to impact us too terribly much. But the Dominion spread, we really want our Dominion to be spreading right now. So we're definitely looking to cap all of these different thrones that we have access to. So we're doing that. We're moving Simios and Tarbal into Satalia. We're moving Kai Ogre and Latios over into Olivine City because we might be taking them elsewhere. So we're not going to build a lab here in Dragonscale Mountains, at least not right now. So we're going to move them on over to Olivine City because we might teleport them out. Okay? So we might teleport them down to Viridian, basically, to participate in the fighting down here. Because I'm not sure, because of, if we look at this little development, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to just march over into Pewter's territory. So we might have to adjust with some of what we're doing there. So we are putting a temple up in Dragonscale Mountains. We're going to preach a little bit. We're going to try to get our Dominion up in this area, and we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do in Dragonscale, because obviously we want to defend it, but it's kind of in the furthest reaches of our territory, and it's kind of a shitty province, so I don't really want to defend it terribly much. I don't want to put a lot of dedication into it, basically. Okay, and then in Stornwoods, we are preaching with Vilgo because we just didn't have enough money to do anything else that we wanted to do, so that's what we're doing there. Down into Saffron City, we are recruiting another Steelix champion. Rinse, repeat. We're sneaking Haddad down towards the Viridian City front. And Ninu is still heading over into the Great Dunes to set up a Future Fist exploration there. Get us ever higher on the Earth Gems. Yazar is heading up in that direction to cap that throne as well, the Throne of Fire. This is also another place that we want to get some defense going in. But again, it's a shit province, so it really sucks. That's very unfortunate. These throne provinces, normally you're like, oh, throne province. Or I feel like a lot of times you're like, oh, Throne Province. And a Throne Province will be like on a big-ass plain or something like that. And it'll be like, amazing, it's huge, it's wonderful. Let's fight for this. These Throne Provinces have just been garbage. No big. Otherwise, in Saffron City, we're not really doing much else. We are doing our remote site searches pretty much all over the place. We can't do anything more with Voice of Apsu, so we're actually heading up towards Olivine City to set up shop there and start doing Voice of Apsus all over this place. We'll see how that goes. Just the consistent effort to raise our magic gem income ever higher. Moving onwards over into the Viridian City front, we've got a lot of movement going on over here. We are finally bringing in these armies, right? They're going to be in Viridian City this turn. Just as a show, we did some switching for Barathras and Benna. So Barathras can actually go across the water. He's aquatic or amphibious. And a lot of these units are aquatic, so he's actually going to cross the river and make it into Viridian City. Benna's going to come around with the leftovers of the army. It's going to take her another 1, 2, 3, 4 turns, whereas Barathras will be in Viridian City in 2 turns. And I just thought it was probably a better idea to go ahead and have this army ready at the ready rather than waiting. So we are moving most of these schoolgirls into Viridian City. They're part of the Bring an Astral Friend project to help reduce the chances of Mind Hunt success. So we're going to bring those along with, we're going to bring a couple along with every big army that we have, right? And we're going to be doing other things. We're going to be forging amulets of anti-magic pretty frequently, so that's definitely going to be a thing. We're gonna have to, we're making more hammers. Are we making more hammers? We might not have made another hammer, but we're probably going to be making more hammers, because we need a lot of hammers with which to be making things like amulets of anti-magic, because this is turning into a scenario where we need a lot of these things and we only have so much production. It's kind of a weird situation. We're moving a lot of other units all over the place. We're moving more flying units into Viridian City. We're moving flying units out of Viridian City. Urborn is moving into Dampdale. Umrig is moving from Dampdale up into Isurian. We've got Nabu, who is now kitted up with a little bit. He's got 27 magic resistance because of the Flask of Holy Water. So this is kind of a kit out that we're looking at, right? Robe of Shadows, Boots of Quickness, maybe changing out the Girdle of Might. He's kind of a test for us. If he gets mind burned, right, or if we see him having issues, obviously we'll swap the Girdle of Might with a Amulet of Anti-Magic, and that'll put us up to 31. 31's pretty much God tier, so it's kind of like, at that point, if you get hit by something, well, you were just destined to fucking die. 27's pretty close to that already, so this is a pretty elite tier unit. This is very tough for people to deal with. Pretty decent resistances across the board, right? Very good combat speed, very good magic resistance, actually decent defense skill at 18, not bad. Very high protection, all the good stuff. The only thing that the Steelixes are really missing is regeneration. And that is definitely a big issue. That prevents me from, so having 7 nature gem income at this point in the game, it's just so, this is the unluckiest point for me about the whole game. Whole game is my abysmal nature gem income. If I could just somehow luck out and in Olivine City's territory find like another 5 nature gem income, oh goodness. That would be the end-all be-all for me, honestly. Like, that would shift what I'm able to do in this game. It's a very big deal. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. We're moving Nabu into Typhia. I'll talk about why when we take a look at the Cinnabar City front, but that's going to be kind of an important move for us. Otherwise, we're mostly just holding. For now, we're building up forces here. We're trying to allow for forces to arrive from Viridian City. We're probably going to do some swapping of supply gear, right, from up here in the Olivine City front, since that's basically turning into not a front pretty soon. And then we're probably going to start shipping that down here and using it as we go. There is something that I should note. We are recruiting some Crush Girls and a bunch of White Belts. That is because we're making... We're not doing that. We have a university here, right? We can get tier 3 units very quickly. And I think one of our best bets is to get a bunch of these little units. We've got... so this is basically another Lobomator unit. The issue with these is they can get mind burned very easily, to the point to where I don't even think it's worth putting an amulet of anti-magic on them, because they'll just get mind burned anyways. We could put something like a helmet, an amulet of anti-magic, like a shield. If we really wanted to kit them out, that'd get them up to like +9. But even at that point, that's only 19. We could put another one on there, the other anti-magic, the other MR item, that's like a +2, the lodestone or whatever. So that'd be like 21. 21 might work, but 21 is where Ishkur basically already was, right? So it's still, and that's not cheap, even for us. That's 3 gems for the helmet and the two 5-gem items, but the shield is a 10-gem item, right? And it's one of the +4, so it's actually important if we want to try to get up that high. And that's too expensive for something like this. So what we're looking for is we want to see how budget we can get these down to. And I think 5 is enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to sneak out Leia for now, right? But we've got another 10 already at the ready. I think this is actually more than 10. We've got 12 at the ready already. So we're going to recruit another 2, and then we're going to send out 2 teams of 5. And we're going to see if 2 teams of 5 of these tier 3 fire black belts is good enough to take on most province defense. I think it probably is, because 2 teams of 5 is going to be 5 Hitmontops and 25 TIE Rogues. I bet that is going to be decent enough for most province defense. So we're going to try to send out multiple of those teams. We're going to try to start making sure we have enough to do that pretty consistently. And we're going to go from there. And then within another turn or two, we're going to have some pretty large armies. We're going to bring in some additional units from various locations. Like we'll have our Kokithiid in. We'll have some of our legendaries in. We'll have a King of Deeper Earth. We'll have some more Steelix champions, right? Because we have Hadad coming in. And we're going to try to put together a decent army with Army of Gold or Lead, buffs, etc. And that should be a pretty big deal, okay? So that's what's happening in the Viridian City front. In the Cinnabar City front, we've got a bunch of little movements around. So Ishkur was here in the Plains of Memory when he got blasted. Lugal and, who was it, Sesgalu were there as well. So he was heading towards Oakwood. I missed this, actually. Intimina is heading towards Oakwoods now. And he's going to do it as an attack. So we're actually doing... We're doing 2 things that I think are interesting. So we're moving Ishtaran over to Felden Forest, and we're moving Typhia, we're moving Nabu over into Typhia. And why we're doing this is because I think from Typhia I could probably hit Scrawl Point, and I think Ishtaran can hit Scrawl Point as well. So I think he definitely has the Inner Throne claimed. Right? Oh, no, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't have the Inner Throne claimed. So that's good. But what I'm curious about is putting. He needs it, right? He needs it to win. So I'm curious about hitting it, wiping out the province defense on it. And I don't think I'm not gonna claim it for myself or anything like that. But I think it would be interesting to see if we can't make some noise here. Also, this is something super duper interesting. But it's just a little outside of my range. This random province has a lab in it. Okay? Which means we could teleport to it. However, it is just a little bit outside of our range. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? It is 7 away. And it's further from here. So that is unfortunate. It is close enough in Viridian City, though. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we could teleport from Viridian City to Kishia. And this is something that's really, really, really interesting. And something that we're gonna keep in our back pocket. We're gonna think about it. We're gonna keep that in our eye. And we might, at any given point, we might be able to hop, skip, jump Kia over to Viridian City, or we might be able to put something in Dathan and then march an army out of Cyanwood City with Kia, right? With Kia at the ready, and then the following turn teleport from Dathan or from Viridian City, depending on the situation, over here into Kishia. And we do it in such a way like we get into position the turn before, and then on the turn we hit Kishia with something, right? Like Ishtaran or any of our other forces in the area. We hit it with one of them to secure it, right? And then the following turn we teleport a massive army in. So that's something that I think is pretty cool. That's also something that I undoubtedly Pewter can do as well. So we need to be keeping an eye out, especially since we've been running around and doing things like building laboratories in provinces. We very much need to keep an eye out on that. So we need to make sure that we have enough forces to protect the home front. Anyways, so we're doing some other fun stuff. We're moving Terith down into Farseer Mountains. We're moving Denithia down into Star Peaks. We're trying to basically get more people. So we're pinging at him. We're trying to see what his defenses are with our Steelixes, but we're kind of just trying to test the waters, and I want to get more people into his heartlands, right? Before we really just start opening it up on attacks. We're doing the same thing up here with Umrig. We're going to see how that goes. We want to apply pressure where we can, though. I think that's really it for the Cinnabar City. I'm expecting things like a Mind Hunt here on Ishtaran. Ishtaran is 26 magic resistant, so he is a little bit of a test. He has a Flask of Holy Water and a Crown of Lead, right? So we're going to keep that as an option. We're going to see... Does 26 kind of hit that area, or do we need to go higher, right? I'm expecting a... Golden Fire. Kind of expecting... I'm kind of expecting a Cloud Trapeze here on Wosen. So I'm kind of hoping maybe... I don't know. Maybe that positioning and holding will do something, but it's probably not going to. And that's fine. If he dies, he dies. And it's not a big deal. So he's going to move to attack in God's Tomb. Seskalu and... This is actually interesting. Seskalu and Lugal are going to both hit Land Pristine. So Land Pristine is... It has a house, right? And it's a plains. So this is a big plains province. Its fortification has a wall integrity of 150. He has 85, and Saskalu has 84, right? So this is 160. They should be able to wipe out the province defense without any issue. If there's nothing in here, right? If he doesn't have a small force garrisoning the fortification, we could pop this fort in one turn, and I'm assuming that this fort actually, because it's only 2 away from Pewter City, I'm actually assuming that this fort is probably pretty valuable to him, as a income fort. So we're looking for opportunities like this. Another one that we've kind of like looked at is the Villia, right? I was very interested in Ancirna, but that's got a bunch of ride-ons on it, so that's definitely not one. But we're just looking to be annoyances. We're looking to make trouble, right? So, all right, that's the Cinnabar City front. Let's move back over to Cyanwood City. So we're moving a couple of people out. We're doing some interesting things. Moving this black belt over into Dathan to continue our blood hunt. We're also moving Lamashtu, the Lamia Queen, with a brazen vessel and a sanguine dowsing rod over into Dathan. We have 2 turns before we are done with alteration. And depending on how... So next turn is going to be the last turn. I doubt we will be ready. So what I might do is I might just take a free turn or 2 in evocation. Or we might just go ahead and start running up blood, because we want to be at the ready. We want to be ready to cast Curse of Blood as soon as we are available. Because casting Curse of Blood and getting Vampire Lords, it's going to be this... It is going to be an exponential growth rate, right? Because more Vampire Lords means more blood hunting means more blood slaves means more Vampire Lords, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And we have a number of provinces where we can actually make this a pretty doable thing. Omicria comes to mind as another pretty good one that we can do. The income is very high, but we can very easily get some patrollers here. And it'll hurt eventually, but it is what it is. So that's just something. That's just something to keep in mind. We are moving a good portion of these units. This is the chaff that just send wildly into his territory. Now, I would want to be careful, right? On the initial assault that we do with like a teleport, I would want it to be a very reliable team, but part of the issue with that is getting in support for that team, right? Because Kia is not a great leader, right? And we would need multiple Steelix champions or something like that nearby at the ready to join in, or maybe we have a Crush Girl nearby ready to move in as well to be a better leader, right? A good, solid, like actual leading force, and have her take the leadership gear from Kia, because we can always remake this type of stuff. So that's something to consider, right? But not having a mage support core is an issue. So we might also do things like teleport in some other mages or things like that. So just stuff to consider. We are moving a stack of Amphiroses out into Hobergdorf to get rid of this unrest. We are doing a bunch of different forging. We are getting more and more hammers every turn. We're doing more and more forging. We are forging a lead shield, a main gouge of parrying, a crown of lead. We're doing our lightless lanterns and crap like that as we normally are. But we're doing coral blades. We've got a bunch of different stuff. We're doing flask of holy water. We're trying to get gear set up for Ayla, right? And now that we know he's got a pretty powerful Mind Hunter, it's important to protect units like this by boosting their MR. So a crown of lead, a shield, what's it called? A lead shield and an amulet of anti-magic. That will give Ayla a +9, right? And that'll take 3 slots on her. But then we can give her some gear. She's already ethereal, so we can just give her good base protection gear. The main gouge of parrying is probably going to be for her. She'll put it on, and that will put her up to pretty high defense skill. We could put something else on as either like lead brace, the bracers or of protection or something like that. Just things to like keep her alive, basically. And then we can send her out as like a cloud trapeze or something like that. We could put a Shademail Harbican on her so that she could stealth. We got a bunch of different options, but she's a powerful asset. Because, right, we could send her over there, and if we were to do something like a gateway, we could cloud trapeze her in. It depends on where we're going, obviously, right? But she could come in as mage support, and mage support on a mission like that is very important. We could also just send her fucking ripping through his lands and have her deal as much damage as she can. The only issue that I have with that, I love the idea. The only issue that I have with that is that a lot of the main units he is using, Rhydons and Gravelers and the Aerodactyls, I think, as well. Do we have any examples with Aerodactyls? Ew. No, we don't. I think the Aerodactyls also have lightning resist. They all have a shit ton of lightning. So maybe the Aerodactyls don't. I could just check his stuff, can't I? Oh, you can't see him. Never mind then. I take it back. So that is one of the only concerns that I have. Otherwise, I would do like otherwise I would run up evocation and I'd do like some wrathful skies or something like that. You know, just walk her in, cast mist form, and then cast wrathful skies and be like, you're dying before I am, right? That type of scenario. But because he has so much lightning res, it's not something that is probably going to be effective half of the time. So we will probably look at using Ayla as a combat mage instead. Now, we're also moving Pyroflogos out. Because if we're going to use him in combat, there is nothing... We have to get him out of Cyanwood City. And I keep on going, oh, well, let me do this. Oh, well, let me do this. Oh, well, let me do this. And if I keep doing that, it's going to be 15 turns before he actually gets anywhere. At this case, it's already going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns before he gets anywhere because he's actually kind of slow. And he doesn't have a foot slot, so you can't put freaking shoes on him to speed him up. But we're gonna send him to Viridian City so that he can be there and be at the ready to do something. If we get him there and we decide, hey, we don't really want to send him out with anybody, then we'll just have him research or we'll have him start distilling gold, whatever. Doesn't matter. So, anything else that we are doing that is super interesting? I think we're not summoning anything this turn. We're not doing anything crazy. We are forging a Fever Fetish. So Fever Fetish is... it's a unique item. It is down here. It's this thing. And what it does is it gives you 2 gems per month, but it diseases the bearer of the... Yeah. So, this is an interesting situation. I think... So I'm not sure if this works to where you get 2 gems per month every month and it doesn't matter. I think it's... yeah, it usually takes a few months for the fever to become intense enough to produce the magic gems, but putting the amulet on a wounded soldier can speed up the process. So this might end up being like a little mini game that we have to like put off on one province, and we'll have a person there and let them get diseased and start producing a little bit of fire gems every couple months, and then when they get close to being dead, we move into the province and undisease them. Simple, easy peasy, right? So that's just something to consider. I think that's how that works. Another thing that we're probably going to produce is we're probably going to produce a disease grinder, because there's enough diseasing going on that I feel like we could probably make use of this. These are just little random things that I can produce with Cameron, because I'm not really doing a crazy amount of things with him at the moment. Making 200 gold per turn. And let's actually look at that. So our income is nearly up to 2k. Our gem income is actually doing pretty good. Let's take a look at score graphs. Province-wise, we are closing the gap. After finishing taking everything from Olivine City, and the little hits that we are doing here or there to Pewter City, we are actually beginning to close the gap. This is very exciting. Fort-wise, we're still nowhere close. Income-wise, we have actually surpassed Pewter City for the first time in a very long time, and this is really, really cool. Gem income, we're still nowhere close. We're not going to be anywhere close for a very, very long time. Research-wise, he's catching up, and that's scary. It is. And army size, we're still pretty far away. So, very long turn. I apologize. I probably spent more time on a lot of different things than I needed to. But there's a bunch of fun stuff going on. We're recruiting some Reaps here, by the way. We're recruiting another Battle Girl X and some more Prodigy White Belts. We got very, very happily, we now have a second Battle Girl X that has water. How amazing. I actually, I didn't realize this, but the fires are actually the rare ones. Like, fire only has a single 50% chance. Water has a 100% chance and a 50% chance. And we got multiple fires at the beginning. Like, we have 3 or 4 fires, I think. And that's... that's randomly weird, right? So we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 fires right there. Yeah, it looks like 4 fires. So we finally got a second water, and that's really exciting. We're gonna try for a couple more Battle Girl X's and see what we get, because a lot of what we're doing right now is just forging absolutely everything. And in that vein, I am gonna say this. What is it? So, no, that's dumb. I was thinking of like what are our win conditions, and I don't think there's any like we're not a nation, we're not an ill winter scenario, right? We're not an astral corruption scenario. We're not any of those nations. We're not a theft of the sun, right? We don't have any gimmick where it's like, okay, we made it to late game, we're in a decent position. If we do this thing, everyone else basically just suffers and dies, right? In burden of time, right? We're none of those nations. I think this is just gonna turn into a slog. Like, this is gonna turn into an honest to goodness, knockdown, drag out fight. I am hopeful, from what I've seen, I am hopeful that I have developed enough tools in my battle against Olivine City. I'm hopeful that I have developed enough tools to where I can raid him more efficiently than he can raid me. And then I can win some decisive battles. And in the meantime, I'm thinking of taking care of some other threats on the side. I'm looking at Vermilion City here. Because Vermilion City has started to attack Violet City. They were here in the Towers of Heaven last turn. Violet City owned Runia, and now they have moved into Runia. So, there's going to be this little interesting war that's happening inside the border between myself and Pewter. And I think at the end of the day, it is probably going to behoove me to choose a side to this war and assist. But that being said, at the same time, it also, like, a part of me is just like, oh, it'd just be really cool to, like, watch this unfold right here. So we're gonna see what happens. But for right now, I think that's gonna be the end of this turn. Whole lot of movement, whole lot of preparatory work going on, whole lot of interesting things that we're finding. And if we take a look at the Thrones of Ascension, this is actually really important, right? We have taken the Throne of the First Stage. We have the Throne of Fire in our border. We have the Throne of Moon in our border, right? Those three are ours. We know the Throne of Death is right here next to Violet City, okay? In kind of like our zone of control, right? So that means we have the Throne of Bureaucracy in Pewter's hands, the Throne of Fortune in Pewter's hands, the Throne of Misfortune in Pewter's hands, Inner Throne in his hands, Outer Throne in his hands, and then the Throne of Gaia in his hands. Okay? That's only 6 thrones. Even if he takes... Did I count that up right? 1, 2, 3... Oh, no, not the... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Absolutely. So there are only... Oh, fuck. I keep miscounting. Throne of Bureaucracy. Throne of Fortune. Throne of Misfortune. Inner Throne. Outer Throne. Throne of Gaia. No, that's correct. So the Throne of Gaia is 6. That's 6 in his area. Even if he takes the Throne of Life from the Ghosts, from Ekritik, that's only 7. He still needs 2 more thrones. He still needs 2 more thrones. And the rest of us, there's a spread on who controls those thrones, right? I have 3. Violet City basically has 1, but the Throne of Death is right next to his cap, so I'm basically leaving him that one. He doesn't want it, but that's what he's got, right? Vermilion City has 1. Atlantis has 1. So Pewter has to go through a player, even if it's some throne rush in the next 5 turns, right? Pewter has to go through a player for that to happen, and that's interesting. That's very interesting. So, speaking of which, there's this big army right here. So, big army could be heading towards 28. Very curious. Alright. I'm having too much fun with this game. I hope you all are enjoying. It's been a long time coming in this victory over Olivine City. And it was fun. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.